I have this question that I ask at the very beginning of every sales call, and I love this question. And I make all of my staff ask this question too, because it just cuts through an enormous amount of bullshit very quickly. That question is, what is going on inside of your business right now that is making you consider getting a VA? Right, that's it, pretty simple. But the reason I love this question is because it stops people from doing what everyone naturally wants to do first, which is just rattle off a random list of tasks, answer my emails, book my appointments, update my socials, whatever. And look, we'll get there. But I don't actually care about the task list yet, right? I care about the problem. I want to know what's broken. I want to know what's overwhelming. I want to know what's keeping you up at night because it tells me everything. And most of the time, this question works very beautifully, right? A stressed out business owner will word vomit a little bit. My niece was sick, my office was flooded, I can't keep up with my emails or inquiries, but somewhere in that mess is normally the real answer. But every now and then, I get a response that makes me want to put my head through a wall, which is, oh, nothing really, I'm just looking for some information. You're looking for some information. So you, a busy business owner, have voluntarily booked a call with a complete fucking stranger. You've carved time out of your day and you're here purely out of vague curiosity. Sure, I also love to waste my time with no goals. So I'll push a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, what are you hoping to find out? And they hit me with the line that I genuinely cannot stand, which is, oh, well, I don't know what I don't know. Welcome to the Virtual CEO. My name is Amy Wallen, CEO of Linked VA, the offshoring agency. And today I want to talk about the people who go looking for answers before they've figured out what the question is, or as I like to call it, outsourcing their thinking. Let's get into it. So here's what I've worked out about the I don't know what I don't know people. They're not actually looking for information. They're not even really looking for a solution because to need a solution, you have to first admit that you have a problem. And a lot of these people either won't do that or they genuinely don't know that they have a problem. What they're actually looking for is inspiration. So you know this type of person. They're always chasing the next shiny thing. They're always on the lookout for some big, exciting idea that's absolutely going to transform their business, right? And by the way, conveniently distract them from the uncomfortable, unglamorous, deeply boring work that is actually required to run a business. So what they're saying to you on that call is, pitch me, sell me, see if you can get me excited enough to make a big decision. I know other people do. I don't do that, right? I'm not a cult leader. I'm not here to manufacture urgency or hype you into something that you don't actually need. Partly because I find it deeply annoying, but mostly because my business model is built on a long-term relationship, not quick transactional wins, which means if I sell you something that doesn't actually solve a real problem, it's not a sale, it's a time bomb. And I'm the one who has to deal with it when it goes off. I don't want to do that. So if you come to me with no clarity, if you come to me with no problems, no real needs, I can sell you a VA, but I cannot sell you a solution because you haven't told me what we're solving for. You haven't even figured that out for yourself. And here's the other thing I've noticed about these people is that it's not just that they have problems that they can't name, it's that they don't have any goals either. Right? There's no clear vision about where the business is going, no real ideas about how to get there, wherever they're going. And most critically, they have absolutely no desire to take responsibility for any of it. So what they want instead is for someone else to decide for them. They want a VA to do the marketing, to handle the sales, to be the operations manager. Except, of course, there are no existing systems, right? There's no structure, there's no brief, there's no idea of what good even looks like, right? They want an assistant to think for them, to strategize for them, to own outcomes that they're not willing to own themselves. And I need you to hear this clearly. You cannot outsource your thinking. You cannot outsource your responsibility, full stop. But that, embarrassingly, is exactly what they're trying to do. And here's the thing that nobody wants to hear, but everybody absolutely needs to. As a business owner, you have all of the risk. Your name is on the contracts. Your name is on the bills. Your house is the one that's probably sitting in collateral against the bank loan, right? Your ego, your pride, your reputation, all of it is on the line every single day that you are running this business. And that means the thinking has to be yours too. I used to know someone who had a habit of telling me just the most genuinely harrowing stories about being let down by all the people he trusted, right? Like accountants who never paid his tax, or business partners who quietly steered things into deep water. And every single story ended the same way, right? He had absolutely no idea that any of this was happening until they left, or until the tax man showed up, or until the sky turned to fire and everything fell apart all at once. But he never knew about it. He was always surprised. And the one thing that got me every time, it wasn't, the betrayal that he felt. It was the shock, like the complete and utter disbelief that this had happened to him. But it wasn't bad luck. And it wasn't even really betrayal. Like, people will do shady things. That's just people. But what I felt it was delayed responsibility. Right? He hadn't been paying attention for years. He hadn't asked the questions. He hadn't looked at the numbers. He hadn't stayed across the strategy. And all of that avoided discomfort just quietly stacked up higher and higher until one day it all came due at once. And he still had to pay it, every bit of it, because it was always his. The thing about responsibility in business is you can hand off the task, right? And you can absolutely hire people who know far more than you about tax, about marketing, about operations, or whatever it is you're trying to outsource. And you should hire people who know more than you. That's not the problem. The problem is burying your head in the sand because staying across something feels hard or uncomfortable or boring. Because when you do that, you're not avoiding responsibility, right? You're just deferring it. And it will come back and it will be bigger and it will still have your name on it. You cannot outsource your intelligence without oversight ever. So if you're one of those people, and honestly, I'm a little impressed that you've white knuckled it through this far into the podcast without turning me off, the next bit is for you. I need you to do something uncomfortable, right? I need you to sit down. I need you to close the 17 tabs that you undoubtedly have open, put your phone face down, and actually think about your business, right? And start with the most basic question possible. Am I happy with where this is at, right? And then, do I actually want it to grow? Because if the answer is no, I genuinely cannot help you stay the same. That's not what I do. So on your way, right? No hard feelings. I hope this podcast was mildly entertaining. But if the answer is yes, or even just a very tired, beaten down, I think so, then the next question is, what is your main concern about growth? Is it that you don't have enough resources, or that you don't have the time or the expertise to manage more than you're already managing, or that you don't even know where the growth would come from or how it would come? Just get granular, get uncomfortable, go looking for where things actually suck right now inside of your business. If you don't have enough time, say that. If you need more leads coming in, say that. If you are converting badly and you know it, say that. Or maybe you don't even know which one it is, in which case that is your answer. That is the problem. The fact that you can't look at your own business in the eyeballs, the business eyeballs, and identify where it's bleeding is the first thing that we need to fix. So sit with the question that makes you squirm a little bit, right? Where could things be better? Where are you the reason potentially that things aren't better? Because this is what happens when you do the work, when you actually show up to the conversation with a real problem and a real desire to solve it. Suddenly, every expert you're talking to, not just me, every hire you make, every system that you put in place has a job to do. Suddenly, you're not looking for someone to think for you. You're looking for someone to help you execute on thinking that you've already done. There's a big difference. And that is the difference between, a business owner and someone who is, I don't know, cosplaying as a business owner. So now, before you throw your hands up and say, well, fine, Amy, I guess I'll just do everything myself and work myself into an early grave. Obviously not. That is not what I'm saying that you need to do. You absolutely still hire experts, right? You still lean on other people's intelligence. You should, right? That's the whole point of building a team. But there is a distinction that matters, right? If you're coming to me, for example, to hire an assistant, do not expect a strategist. Those are two very different things, and they come at two very different price points, which is half the reason people will tell me this bullshit. When you are hiring your first staff member, you tend to have assistant money, right? And with assistant money, you do not get a world-class CFO who's going to swoop in and transform your entire business while you go and sit on a yacht somewhere with your pet tiger, or whatever it is that you think successful people are doing. For me personally, I'd love a tiger. I just feel like we'd get along really well. If you think about it for a second, you could hire someone brilliant enough, like let's say you could hire someone brilliant enough to run your entire business for you. Why would they need you? Why would they not just run their own? Your first hire is not there to replace your thinking. They are there to expand your capacity a little bit, right? Not take over things entirely, not skip you straight from stage 1 to stage 10, right? Just expand what you can do so that they can focus on the things, or so that you, can focus on the things that you actually need to do. So let's say you hire an EA to take on your basic admin so that you can spend more time on sales calls or spend more time actually being strategic. Maybe you hire a technician to take over your delivery so that you can grow your capacity to take on more clients. But make sure when you're handing these things off, it's small, it's specific, it's targeted expansion of what already exists. And you don't take your eyeballs off of it, right? Because either way, every single one of those hires requires you to think first, right? What do I actually want? What would make the biggest difference to me or this business right now? What am I trying to get to? You cannot skip that part, and nobody can do it for you. And this is really the whole point of everything I've said today, right? The most valuable thing that you bring to your business is not your ability to answer emails. It is not your ability to book appointments or update a spreadsheet, right? It is your ability to think, to make decisions, to know where you're going and why you're going that way. And the moment that you outsource that strategic thinking to a VA, a virtual assistant, or to a business partner, or to anyone, you are not running a business anymore. You're just along for the ride. And when it inevitably hits a bump, and it will, you'll be the one sitting there in complete shock, wondering how this could have possibly happened to you. It happened because you stopped paying attention. And attention, unfortunately, is not something that anyone else can give you, right? Know your business, know your problems, know what you need. Then go and get help executing on it. That is how this works. Thanks for tuning into the Virtual CEO. If you listened to this and felt personally attacked, good. I hope that means it landed. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a review. Do all the things that keep podcasts alive. And I'll catch you next week.